one of the reasons why I am nervous to talk to my mom about her will is because she has pretty much threatened us in the past that if we don't do certain things for her or if we're not behaving, this has been probably going on since I was in elementary school.
No.
You won't be in the will.
She threatens the will all the time.
There's a lot of manipulating going on and it's a game.
Do you think she's like joking or she means it?
No, she's serious.
She's serious that she's gonna cut a bitch out.
Yeah, she's serious.
What's up, rich people? It's me, Haley, AKA Mrs. Dow Jones. And if you've had the talk with your parents, you know, the one where you talk about sex, but not the talk with your parents, you know, the one where you talk about death and their finances and end-of-life wishes. Welcome to my Chanel. In today's video, you're gonna learn how to estate plan with mom and dad like a boss. I know, you're probably like, Haley, isn't estate planning just for rich people? No, sweetie, it's for everyone. An estate is literally just all the money and property owned or owed by a person. So no matter your tax bracket, you have one, and more importantly, your parents have one, and we need to talk to them about it before it's too late and we have to figure out their finances and end-of-life wishes while grieving. But before we jump in, don't forget to subscribe and comment below if you did. I will personally respond to every one of you. Okay, David, let's roll tape. Do you know your parents' end-of-life wishes?
Absolutely not.
Do you have a will?
Yes, I'm actually in the process of updating it.
Okay, am I in that?
Of course. By the way, rich people forget to create wills, okay?
No, I was with a billionaire who was like, my kids will figure it out.
Okay, that'll be fun. That's a reality show waiting to happen.
I was like, honey,
Maybe
no.
that's his estate plan, is to get them
know.
like a Bravo deal.
I think you would be so proud. What do you think would happen with your parents if you tried to initiate a convo about their will?
They definitely get upset. My mom is not the easiest
Yeah.
to have it, so I would have to initiate something before that, a whole nother conversation, and then bring it up like
So you
slowly.
have to do like layers.
Yeah.
We talk about it all the time. My mom's obsessed with it.
Really?
Yeah.
What have you covered?
Well, my mom, I love, this is what she says every time to me. She says, Anson, I'm going to walk up the canyon and I'm going to leave my phone at home and please just don't come looking.
No, I don't think so.
What is preventing you from talking about it?
Eu acho cedo ainda.
He thinks we're too young for this.
Okay. So what would be the right age to talk to them about it?
Qual seria a idade certa?
Maybe,
Ele falou,
maybe now, maybe
it should be now.
Estate planning is a tough subject. I know from personal experience how hard finances and death can be to even bring up with mom and dad. And then how resistant they can be to even having that conversation. Yes, mom, I am looking at you. Look back at me. Let's discuss money. And usually the resistance is for two reasons. Fear of dying, duh. Most of us don't like to think about death, and as long as it doesn't feel urgent, it's super easy to avoid discussing. And the second is that your parents, yep, they probably haven't figured out their end-of-life plans yet, so they don't know what to say to you about the whole subject. They're just as clueless as you are. And this applies whether you're rich or poor. Like, it's hard for everyone. No matter where your family lands on this spectrum, this video is gonna help. I've created an amazing roadmap for how to open up this conversation with your parents. And my friend Christine is really struggling to have it. So I'm also gonna sit down with her and show her how it's done. And then I have also created a free download of the 7 documents everyone needs in case they die at the link below. And this is a great starting place for your parents to make sure all their bases are covered. Today we're sitting down with Christine, who needs some major help talking to her mom about estate planning and wills. Let's help her out. Hey guys, I'm in the studio with my friend Christine, and we're gonna talk all things death and estate planning and parents. Christine has been going through it. Her mom is tight-lipped. So I'm gonna teach her how to get that woman to open up, talk about that will, and get Christine feeling comfortable with her end-of-life wishes.
Okay, so it's me and my brother, and then I have a son. So my mom has one grandson, and she lives in Florida. She likes to buy and flip houses, so keeps moving her money into new homes so that she doesn't have to pay capital gains. And later down the road, she wants to invest that potentially in her will and disperse that to us. And we haven't had that conversation yet, so it's just something that's been like on the top of my mind recently.
Yeah. I think that's amazing, but it's also like I want to know her whole financial picture because like she's getting older. What if something happens to her while she's in the middle of flipping a house and then you're just left with like a construction project? That would be really hard.
True. It's actually something I've not thought about either. But my mom, one thing is my mom has been on her own for the past 4 years. So my stepfather, who has been in my life for 25 years, he passed away about 4 years, halfway through her getting into this. So she's been doing it on her own. And one of the concerns for me is thinking about my own son. He's my top priority. And maybe just bypassing me fully and just giving everything to my son. There's also like always things evolving. So since my mom has been single for the past 4 years, she has started to date. She is more serious with someone now. And so it's also something I've thought about a little bit is how I would handle all of this with a new man in the picture.
Yeah, well, I think the biggest thing is like just talking to your mom first and foremost. Like, you've got to get on this. Obviously, you shouldn't on her new man, but like, I feel like if you can get her to feel empowered about these choices and excited about it, like the idea of giving Mason this security and like having everything really figured out so that if something does happen to her, you're not struck by grief, but also trying to deal with all this stuff. Like, I feel like those are all really positive things. And wouldn't you want that for your daughter and for your grandson?
Right. So I know I should have the conversation with my mom about money and her finances, what's going to happen in the future, if anything happens to her. And that conversation hasn't happened yet. So I'm really nervous.
Do you think she would be open to having it?
Absolutely. I just don't know like how to start that off.
That's really hard. I would say the first thing that you need to do is relax. It's going to be okay. Let's get the vibe right. We can have a cocktail, a little champagne. And this is actually my first step with talking to parents about their end of life wishes too, is to come at it from, you know, a chill, not stressed, fun, celebratory perspective. Make them a cocktail if they like that. Do it in a place that they feel relaxed. Don't just spring it on them. It's a heavy topic. I want the vibe to be Wall Street meets spa night.
Okay, so one of the reasons why I am nervous to talk to my mom about her will is because she has pretty much threatened us in the past that if we don't do certain things for her or if we're not behaving, this has been probably going on since I was in elementary school.
No.
We won't be in the will. Or Charlie's gonna get the whole will, I'm not gonna be a part of it.
She threatens the will all the time.
There's a lot of manipulating going on and it's a game.
Do you think she's like joking or she means it?
No, she's serious.
She's serious that she's gonna cut a bitch out.
Yeah, she's serious.
I have 2 tips that make it super easy to actually break the ice and start this convo. The first one is that if there's been an event in the culture where someone has died, bring that up. So like recently Tony Bennett died. I'm not really like a Tony Bennett head, but my mom likes him. So, you know, that has been a good way for me to transition into talking to her about her end of life wish, right? Because I'm like, make it about her life. What would she want at the end? You know, it starts to open the conversation up really nicely when you use an example from the culture to sort of bridge that gap. And the other tip that I have for starting off this convo is to just use yourself as an example. Like, I've been thinking so much about Mason and like what would happen if anything happened to me to him. And like, I just want to know, like, have you ever thought about that? Like, do you have any tips? Like, I'm trying to work through all of this. Like, maybe I can like, you know, brainstorm with you.
But I also am not sure what I should be thinking about that my mom or I should be passing along to my son.
I felt the same way where I was like, I don't even know where to begin. Like, you know that they're supposed to have a will, but you're like, I know there's other documents that they should have too, but like, what even are those? So what I actually did is I created a free downloadable resource called The 7 Documents You Need in Case You Die. And it is sort of a great checklist to use with your parents to go through to make sure that you have all of the bases covered in case anything happens. And you can use it with your son as well, because it like just makes sure you have a health proxy, a will, like all those little things. It'll remind you to do it and you'll get it done.
So what is in this document you were telling me about?
Document number 1, last will and testament. Then number 2 is living will or advanced healthcare directives. Like Khloe Kardashian has this, where if she's in a coma, she gets to get her nails done every week. Number 3, power of attorney, durable power of attorney. Beneficiary designation. Trust. So that's like if you have a lot of assets, if you're gonna put them in a trust, like we need to get that set up. If you're passing down a house, like there's a lot of things that you can put into trust and you'll get tax breaks for it. 6 is letter of instruction, which is not technically like a legal document, but basically it's a great thing to have to accompany your will. If you wanna have like specific music playing at your funeral, or like if you want your casket to be lucite or like have flames on it, like this is where I need to hear it from you. You put it in that letter of intent.
That's amazing.
Yeah, you should plan your funeral the way that you do a party. That's how I feel.
Celebration of life.
Exactly. And then number 7 is digital estate plan. Now we don't just leave physical assets behind, we also leave these like huge digital footprints.
So what is the digital footprint?
So it's like, okay, like if something happens to your mom, like do you know how to get into her iPhone? How would you get into her iPhone? Like she needs to make you her digital beneficiary. Your mom sounds like a tough cookie, and I have one of those kinds of moms too, and she was very resistant to talking about any of this with me, and she still is. But what also helps is like consistency. Like soon they'll realize that by wanting to be close with you, they have to discuss this. So it's sort of like a Sophie's choice. Like, do I keep the cat in the bag and just like never talk to my daughter, or do I just like call a spade here and open up about what's really going on under the hood of my funeral?
It's an awkward situation because you don't want them to think like you want all these things now, like I'm being this stingy child.
Yeah. I love that you brought that up, because I think that's something a lot of people fear is, oh, if I bring this up to my parents, they're gonna think I'm excited for them to die and that I'm greedy and that I just want them to kick the bucket so I can inherit some money. And that's not it at all. The reason that you wanna have this conversation and get these documents done is because it's gonna be so hard when they pass away. You're gonna miss them so deeply and you're gonna be grieving that it's gonna be horrible to have to handle all of this in that state.
Right. So I think you're right. I think easing in, being sweet and nice.
Yeah. Maybe your mom actually needs help figuring it out. In which case, like, we could hire professionals to help you. You could talk through it and find a way through together. Like being someone who she can look to for support versus who she looks to, like, is like holding her accountable in this scary way, I think is really important.
Right. I think you are really on it when you tell me that I should probably have someone else like a third party involved.
Like
She'll
a death
probably
coach.
take it a little more seriously if there's someone else advising us. So that's a great idea. And then it also, now this conversation is making me think I need to have a will for my son
You
as
do.
well. So
And then also, like, with Mason, like, make it a better process for him and you to go through.
right.
Cheers, Christine. Thank you so much for being here and for being so open with us. I know it's not easy to have these conversations, but I really hope that now you feel confident and you have the tools that you need to open this up with your mom and figure out what's going on.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for the advice.
Cheers. Love ya. So the biggest thing really about talking death with your parents is just watching your tone, preparing them in advance, and helping them through creating a plan that's gonna work for everyone. And don't expect it to all be figured out quickly. Like, this might have to be a multi-step collaborative process, and that's okay. Between me and the professionals, you definitely have enough resources now to get it done, but please don't be a horror story, be an example. Take care of yourself and your parents by having this tough talk. Get your documents in order. Download the 7 documents everyone needs in case they die for free at the link below. It really helps. And yeah, don't forget to subscribe for more financial therapy and stay rich, bitch.